G'day everyone, this is Simon from Chaosbay, and this is Progcast.
Welcome back to the Progcast. I'm your host Dario, and just about 1.5 years after our last chat, we have the guys from Chaos Divine again here through Skype on the show. This time it's not only Ryan and Mike, it's also Simon and the new guy in the back. Tim, right? The new drummer. Hi guys, great to have you on the show. How have you been doing?
Good, yeah, been doing well.
Pretty good.
Yep.
Keeping busy.
Well, I just, as I just said, we last year around Easter we actually had a nice talk, and that was with the first new single that dropped back then, and we've kind of been waiting for album news since then. And I just listened to the episode again, and you were like, yeah, towards the end of the year and stuff, and now it's already October 2020, more than a year later. What happened, guys? I mean, now finally we know that the new album is gonna be called Legacies. It's out at the same day this episode drops, actually. But it looked a little bit like there was a hold up in the process.
Yeah, we meant this year, not last year. Just to clear that up. No, we had every intention to release at the end of last year, but we didn't do what we were supposed to do, and then COVID started, and then everything just slowed down. So now we'll give it another go this year. Well, it has to come out now.
Yeah, there's no turning back now, right?
We're also waiting for the singer to bloody finish what he was doing. So, yeah, that didn't help.
He's not here to defend himself right this second, so yeah, all good.
Yeah, we'll blame everything on him.
Yeah, he's probably off with his family, right?
Yeah.
I think so. It's kid time. It's getting kids to bedtime, so that's probably where he is.
Yeah, for us it's a midday here in Munich, and you guys still have the sun up at this time of day. What time is it? 6, 7?
6 o'clock. Yeah.
6 o'clock. Yeah. It's at 7 o'clock. It already starts to get dark here in Munich. It's like, autumn is here, and the new album of Chaos Divine is around the corner. As I said, it's called Legacies. First things first, it's got a really cool cover artwork, but that was not the first one you teased. What happened there, guys? Would you enlighten us?
Yeah, we wanted to use some other artwork that was referenced from another artist, and we just didn't work out. Like we couldn't get hold of the license to use it the way we wanted to, and then there were some complications that came up with it. So yeah, we kind of just bit the bullet and go, all right, we've got some bit of time up our sleeve. Like let's use we used a local artist then to kind of come and help us out and do a new piece, and I think it kind of worked out better in the end. Like we kind of got a better product and probably a little bit more certainly what I had in mind anyway in terms of like the style. So yeah, it was a bit of a pain in the ass at the start, but I think in the end it really worked out well.
Yeah, it looks dope, certainly. But of course, the main thing of the album is the music. So, what's different this time around? What's different to Colliding Skies? I'm in Australian mood. I wanted to say Caligula's Horse. You guys, of course, are different to Caligula's Horse. But what was different this time around compared to Colliding Skies? Both in terms of the songwriting and production, and also in terms of the outcome, how it sounds?
Well, production-wise, it's pretty similar. We just sort of recorded it in various locations around town, and sent it off to Forrester Saville to mix, who did the last one. I guess in terms of writing, it was probably a little bit different in that we didn't really do the more sort of bandy type thing of, all getting together in a jam room and kind of, jamming out ideas. It was more kind of setting weekends aside for sort of a few of us to get together and just sort of sit at a computer and just kind of lay ideas down in that way. And I think probably quite a few songs actually were just kind of like someone would come up with pretty much a whole song at home and then make a few tweaks here and there as a band. But, so it wasn't as much of that sort of organic songwriting process that maybe most bands are used to, that we were certainly used to. It's a little bit different this time around, but I think it's kind of worked out pretty well. I mean, everybody gets older and we don't all have the same amount of time to, dedicate every Sunday afternoon kind of thing like we used to do to get together and jam it out. So we just sort of have to do it more in bursts. But I think it's kind of worked out.
Yeah, it gave us more time to craft it because we were waiting on certain things to be finished, and then the rest of us had more time to work on our own bits and think about kind of how we wanted the songs to be sort of polished, I guess. So, yeah, in a way, giving yourself more time means you've got more time to sort of think about the end product as opposed to kind of rushing through recording and then being stuck with what you've recorded and not have the time to kind of go back and finesse.
I think having that member change definitely switched things up a bit as well.
Jam environment, yeah.
Yeah, when I came in, I'd say probably half the songs to 75% of the songs were pretty much like fully fleshed out as to where they were going to be. And then really it was just up to, each individual to put our own influence into the way that it was going to finish up. But yeah, I guess that would be a point of difference between Colliding Skies and Legacies is that new blood, I guess, in the mix, that new set of influences, maybe, not being afraid to explore some different things that, may have, not really been on the table previously, which I think has created like a pretty well-rounded and diverse record as well. There's like a lot of different facets to this record. It's probably heavier than the last couple have been in places, but then there's also stuff on there that is definitely more vibey and more moody too. So yeah, it's really it's like as diverse as you could get without trying to do that for the sake of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it still sounds like a coherent kind of record.
Yeah.
I sort of look back on Colliding Skies and feel that there are sort of moments where it's like, it's cool and all, but there might be some songs that might be better suited to something else, whereas I sort of think with this one,
it's all chaos.
Yeah, every song has its own place on the record.
There's no talk about cutting anything, put it that way. It's just like, it's your tracks. Yeah.
I have a little bit of a hot take here for you guys. I thought I would throw it at you at the very end of the show, but now we're talking about songwriting, and so I want to ask you guys: Have you made your peace with the fact that you'll never write a hit single as perfect as One Door again?
I thought you were going to say Africa.
Close enough.
Well, we've played that song so many times that we're all a bit sick of it, really. anything is a welcome change.
Yeah.
I think there's a similar sound though. That song, the way that it sort of structurally builds itself up and kind of where it goes. I think a lot of the new album has that same type of feel. So I think hopefully people, if they like that song or they like certainly those moments on Human Connection, they should like the whole record really, because a lot of the songs have that same light and shade and the sort of big moments that come in and then flow out into kind of softer stuff. Like I think that's the vibe across a lot of the songs.
Yeah, for sure.
What kind of stood out to me when I was looking at the new album and the songs that I think generally the songs are a bit shorter and more concise than they used to be. So I mean, on the Human Connection, you had the big epic closer, Solastalgia, and also on Colliding Skies, even though it's not that long of a songs, it's like a very, very moody closer with Nothing We Depart. Or, yeah, the opening song, Landmines, is also over 7 minutes long. So when you wrote the songs for Legacies, did you try to go for a more concise direction songwriting-wise? Or, did it just happen naturally?
I think part of that comes with just maturing as songwriters. I mean, not to sort of rag on anything, but like, songs that get up to sort of 7 minutes sometimes maybe don't need to be that long, unless it's consciously written to be a long song, like some of them were. But I think we've just sort of got a bit better at fitting everything that we want to fit into a song within the sort of 5 minute time constraint rather than the 6.5 minute time.
I think the closer on Legacies won't disappoint.
Yeah.
It's definitely got some vibes happening on that one. So
But that's definitely longer for a reason.
Even though it just said like as a hit single, One Door was kind of perfect to me. My two favorite Chaos Divine songs are in fact No Road Home, Solastalgia, and With Nothing We Depart so far. I had the chance to listen to the new album for a couple of times until now, but I still need a couple of more times to, make a final verdict, so to speak, and to get those vibes. But I will listen now. Next time I listen to it, I will, put a little bit more focus on, especially on stuff that you just said, like the vibes in the closer and closing song and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be cool to go further on the journey with Legacies. I'm looking forward to that actually very much.
Thanks for giving it the time as well and the listens, because the best art, it's not stuff that you just get straight away, Like, not that there's anything wrong with, listening to something and it grabbing you straight away. That's great. But, if you think of all of the albums that, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Every time you listen to it, you can pick something else out in there, like almost like an Easter egg that's kind of like hidden away. That's kind of like what I love about prog in general. And that's definitely what I love about this album, is that it does just keep throwing up these little surprises with each listen. So yeah, thank you for giving it the time to listen.
Yeah, the album is ready now and is out on October 16th, same day as this episode drops. Of course, now is not the best time to kind of go on tour to support the album. Did you ever think about pushing it back even further to be able to drop it around a time when touring will be possible again?
Yeah, I think there's probably pluses and minuses of doing both. And And I think because we've had the record almost ready to go for so long, and obviously with COVID happening, it meant that we couldn't really tour straight away. But I think we were all quite keen to give people a product that they could then like go away and listen to, soak up, get excited about, with the knowledge that, when we can tour, we will be able to. So I think, there isn't many bands doing a whole lot at the moment, and I think it gives you a little bit of a point of difference to be able to put a record out at the moment, because you've kind of got a captive audience in a sense. People are hungry for music. They're hungry because they can't see shows. So, I think there's potential for people to be quite interested in buying the record and supporting that way, and knowing that these songs are coming live. We will be able to play all these songs live as soon as we can. So yeah, I think it's just a kind of a choice, but there's no right or wrong answer, I don't think.
I think when you don't have like a definitive time frame with COVID as well, you can just say how long is a piece of string, and that's when the album's going to come out, right? So if we did keep delaying it, who knows? It could be 2022 before we're able to get properly back on the road again. So you can sit on something for so long, but eventually you've got to release it.
I agree with that, absolutely.
So we've got plenty of time.
No, actually, I just remembered what I wanted to say earlier, and that was when you, Tim, said, that's always great if you have especially in the prog world, that when you give some stuff the time and that it doesn't hit immediately, and then you come to like it and really love it over time. It was actually the same with you guys. I mean, I remember seeing you at Prog Power Europe in 2009, I think, the very first time. And back then I was, I'll be honest, I was not ready for this kind of heaviness and growls. Personally, I think I've told this story on the Progcast a couple of times now, but. Yeah, 2016 was the year where I finally embraced the extreme side of prog metal, and that was also the second time you guys were there. The first time where you were around, I just remember you, I remember you more from partying with you than like your show, actually, because I didn't know your music and it didn't speak to me that much. That it and when you came back the second time, it was the right time the second time around for me personally, as I was getting into the heavier stuff by then finally. After having Opeth as one of the very, very few growly bands I would listen to and really love.
We were probably a bit more refined by then. I would say we would have toured on the first record, and we would have toured the second round to Europe on like the third record on Colliding Skies. So you'd had all that time in between to really hone our skills and sort of create our sound.
To suck less.
Yeah, to suck less.
We're a different band as well. Like, I think when we first played at Prog Power, we were a completely different band. Like, we had hardly any touring experience. Yeah. We were playing vastly different songs. I think we weren't really quite sure if we were heavy or prog or what we actually were as a band. And then by the time we'd done those two records and then come back, I think we had a lot more experience, and we kind of, we were a little bit more cohesive on stage, and I think we were just growing a lot more as a band.
Yeah, fingers crossed that this the live experience will be back at some point. I mean, it will, but it's a matter of time, and it's unpredictable at this point still. So we can't.
Well, I don't want to make you feel bad, but it sort of is for us. So if you want live music, then just come over here, quarantine for a couple of weeks, and then you can catch some shows over there.
Yeah.
Well, here in Germany, actually, it has been pretty okay. The last 2 months as well. In August, I saw two shows of local bands. One of them was including my producer Randy's band. This is Not an Elephant. And just last week, I saw Ginger on Tuesday. And on Saturday, I saw Long Distance Calling. So, of course, they were all socially distanced with masks and seated. So once you're seated at your seat, you can take off your mask and drink your drink. But
So all shows are seated then, are
excuse me?
they? And so all the shows are seated, are they?
Yes, in Germany, yes. The interesting thing about the short Ginger run, that was, I think, 4 or 5 dates in Germany and 1 or 2 in Switzerland. In Switzerland, they actually didn't have any social distancing measures in place. And I also heard that Ginger got some backlash, actually, for playing these shows. So it's kind of tricky these days still. But there's stuff happening. There's things going ahead, actually. And I was still, fingers crossed, in October, there's still Panzerballet and the Hirsch Effect coming up. Those two, definitely, yes. But of course, the biggest thing is that it's unpredictable for traveling and for like booking international bands.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even the avenues we would have, to come over and play the likes of Prog Power and Neuroblast and other things. I mean, they've just rescheduled all their bands just from 2020 to 2021. So it's not even just a year delay for us. It's kind of even longer if we think about all the booking agents and all the bands that are like, well, we've just pushed everything back a year. So,
yeah.
It's harder. It's even harder when you've got to kind of have that lead time for like a small Australian band like us to have a lead time of, well over 12 months anyway, to potentially then be looking at a whole nother delay. So I think we've just got to look for other avenues, and hopefully, when we can come over, there's, something perhaps pops up that, otherwise might have not been there.
Yeah, I mean, most of the festival, not only Euroblast and Prog Power Europe, but also like Radar Festival and the UK Tech Fest, I think they're trying to keep as much of their 2020 lineup for 2021. So of course, for you guys, it would be hard to get into any of these festivals for next year. So yeah, I absolutely see what you're saying there. Also for tours, for like venue availability. That alone is also because a lot of tours got pushed back to next year. So next year's gonna be pretty clogged up, provided all the stuff is gonna go forward.
Yeah, there'll be a mad rush for
like an overload
for bands to play. I think once the travel opens up.
Yeah, I just talked to Robin Stubbs from The Ocean last week, and he said that their booking agent actually managed to pull off a 30 dates tour for January and have a backup plan of almost the same routing for June. So that's quite.
Wow.
I think that's the booking agent you can hire.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is actually very impressive. All right, guys. I think last time we talked, we didn't have this funny little section in our show yet, but now we do, and it's always fun to fill up our playlist that we compile to accompany this episode. This little section is called "What's in Your Walkman?" So I want to ask you guys, what have you been listening to lately? What would you recommend? Any songs that stood out for you in recent times? Could be both old or new, could be well-known or obscure, could be prog or not prog at all.
Well, you said Walkman, so I was immediately thinking like Warren G and Nate Dogg and that kind of thing, when I used to actually own a Walkman. What's lately?
New Deftones.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with The Midnight.
I was going to say that.
Well, it's mine, so too bad. I've been cranking The Midnight ever since they probably 2 albums ago now, actually. So a couple of years. They spit out an album every 6 months, it seems like. But they're like a kind of very think of the Stranger Things soundtrack.
Yeah.
And then throw in a saxophone solo here or there, and then some really soothing kind of like flowy shirt type vocals.
Flowy shirt.
Yeah, and then you've kind of got the vibe of the band. But it's like 80s feel good synth pop. Really, that's about the only way I can describe it.
Nice. Yeah, I actually heard about them before. Do you have any favorite song?
The new track off the record, probably, I think it's Monsters, so the title track is probably the one I'd go with. Yeah, it's got a really cool kind of disco-y like beat, and then it's got this sort of down-tuned vocal hook that's, really cool.
All right, Mike?
Always been a pretty big fan of sort of Royal Blood and Nothing But Thieves over the last few years. So I guess, Royal Blood's put out a new track recently, which is pretty cool. Sort of in that, not the midnight vibe, but a bit more like rocky, sort of with a bit of synth in there and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. And, it's bass and drums, so I'll take it. Guitarist lyrics.
Cool.
Story.
Yeah.
What's that?
You got any backup recommendation other than the Midnights, Simon?
I've given New Seps a couple of listens, which is pretty good. New Sepultura.
What was that? What was that? I didn't get the name of the band.
The New Sepultura record.
Sepultura. All right.
But I haven't really familiarised myself with it enough to give you any specific songs. But first couple of listens, it's pretty cool.
All right.
For me lately, it's Alpha Wolf from Melbourne, Australia. Just released their record, I think, last week. That's got a couple of absolute bangers on it.
I just heard that, actually.
Yeah, if you're into that heavier kind of vibe, the song Akudama, that's like my go-to at the moment, especially when you're in the gym. Aside from that, from I think 2019, Humanity's Last Breath, released the album then. I pretty much had that on repeat. Abyssal Mouth is probably my go-to for them. And I'm really late to the party with Bring Me the Horizon, but they're like one of my favorite bands now. I think I wrote them off when they first came out or whatever, just because I wasn't really into that sound. But as time's gone on, they've diversified like so much that it's like at a point where they're almost unrecognizable from who they were at the beginning, which I kind of love. You know? And I think they're firmly tongue-in-cheek as well, and they're just kind of pointing the finger back at every like metal elitist that just writes them off because now they sound like poppy or whatever. You know what I mean? So I think they're like really acutely aware of what they're doing, which I think is both very smart and they write some like catchy little tunes as well. So for them, like Nihilist Blues, the song they did with Grimes, I think, really sums up what I love about that band at the moment.
Yeah, all cool recommendations. I actually, since the last weeks, I've been doing so many interviews kind of in advance that when we started this What's in Your Walkman section, I just would have one show every week to record, so I would just go with what I've been listening to. But now with recording 3 or 4 shows in 1 week, I'm kind of spread thin on that a little bit, and because I don't want to mention the same bands all the time, and so I started actually to think of bands that would match the band I'm interviewing, and what associations I get in my head. And well, there's been a German band that put out a new album 2 weeks ago, I think, and I also mentioned them in another episode already. They also have a chaos in their name. They're called Chaosbay, and their new album is called Asylum. And I want to put the songs Amen and the very last track, Heavenly Island, on the playlist, because it's just killer stuff and a very touching subject as well. And then maybe you guys remember, or the listeners, if you have listened to the episode with the lads in Exist Immortal, when I interviewed them, I kind of put forward or proposed a Chaos Divine Exist Immortal Arkentype touring package.
Yes.
So I'm gonna put some
dropping those packages if you can. That'd be great.
I will do my best. Exist Immortal from their last EP, Act 1 Rebirth, the last song, Old Worlds. I'm gonna put that in the playlist as well. And as my Facebook reminded me, 2 years ago we premiered the Arkentype single Rosetta at the Progcast, and that's still such a killer song. So these are my recommendations for the What's in Your Walkman section this time. Last but not least, for this playlist as well, I always put together a kind of best of. And if we have the time, I really like when the bands themselves or my guests put together this best of their own band. So, are you prepared to give us your favorite song from each Chaos Divine record? Or can you agree on one song from every record?
I don't know if we could agree, but we should probably each
give it a go. So you want one song on each record?
Yes.
Okay. Starting with Avalon?
You can include Ratio if you want.
I'd rather not.
I feared you would say that. But no worries, it's gonna be reverse chronological order in the playlist. So I always start with the new singles, of course, and then work my way back chronologically.
All right. So for the new album, I'm probably gonna have to go the song "Guarding Gravity."
Oh yes.
Is that a
consensus?
Is that a consensus?
Yeah.
So that's probably a song that we haven't. As we've recorded this, we haven't released. But if it's coming out on the 16th, then you would have heard it this morning. With your breakfast, as you've opened up your new pre-ordered Chaos Divine vinyl and CD bundle, you would have popped it into your CD player because you still have one, and so track 5, I think it is Guarding Gravity. Yep.
First track on side B.
Yeah.
If you have the vinyl, I reckon.
And then Colliding Skies. I don't know if someone else can take this one.
Sim.
I don't know. I kind of like With Nothing We Depart. So I reckon it's
I would never say no to that song. It's so beautiful. Like it's not really. It doesn't. It's not really representative for the record at all. But it is my definitely my favorite Chaos Divine songs ever, because it's so emotional, and with a slide saxophone, King Crimson vibes.
So we'll give that one to you, I reckon.
Yeah.
That can be the soft one.
I think that track squarely last on our playlist count of all songs. But
Basically,
it's good. Still good. Still good. Give it a go. Human Connection.
Obviously, you'd
You'd like us to say One Door, but I'm going to deviate from that.
Pick another song. I think that was played a lot already. Yeah.
So I reckon the song on that record it's probably like stood up really well live for a long time. It's like Invert Evolution, I would say. It's also got the title in the lyrics. If that's a little bit of hidden Easter egg there.
Yeah.
But there you go. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll go Inverted Evolution. It's probably the one we keep playing live the most because live it's quite sort of appealing, I think, for like getting the crowd going. It's technical. It's quite difficult to play. I think I think it sort of holds that record. Yeah.
Other than One Door.
Yeah. And then Avalon. Where do we start with that dumpster fire?
David wanted you to say Rapture, probably, but
I could go with Rapture. Yeah, Rapture. It's kind of got an Arch Enemy kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say
Contortion.
I was going to say Contortion just because it's that. I don't know. Just a bit of background. I hang out with these guys long before I was in the band, and I particularly remember around the time when Avalon came out. You guys were doing shows with other, pretty big Aussie bands like Days End and Five Star Prison Cell and guys like that. And that song was always the one that you guys would open with. So it's always like the first sound that hits your ears. So it kind of leaves that impression. I think Contortion.
All right, you've changed my mind, Tim. Yeah.
Probably Africa on the Africa single.
Yeah, I mean,
of course I will include that. That's no question.
I didn't bother going anywhere else. If you want one from Ratio,
Obsidian Eyes. It's got to be Obsidian Eyes.
Yeah, everyone loves that.
Yeah,
do they?
A quiet bit, and then the end.
Okay, at both ends.
All right.
Yep.
Good. Then it's settled.
Cool stuff. That's gonna be an epic playlist with a best of Chaos Divine opening, and then the very diverse stuff that you proposed, and then the future touring package, including Chaosbay, Exist Immortal,
turned off.
Arkentype. Excuse me, what was that?
I said just put our stuff at the top of that playlist, because if they hear our suggestions for what we propose as the off the wall Walkman tracks, I think they'll turn off.
Yeah. No worries, I will do that. All right, guys, it was a really fun chat. Great to catch up with you guys. Super excited about the release of Legacies. I bet you guys are too. All the best with the record. Say hi to Dave, your singer, when he comes back from tucking the kids in. And
he's not coming back.
All right. Talk soon to you guys. Thanks for being on the show. Thank you to our listeners for listening. And as always, take care of your loved ones, take care of yourselves, and listen to great music.
The Progcast is a production of Stuus Media and is presented by the Prog Space. It is produced by Randy M. Salo, Janine Stengel-Lewis, Blake Lewis, and Dario Albrecht. Our theme music is by This Is Not an Elephant, and Van Kirsch does our graphics. New episodes of the Progcast drop every Monday and Thursday. And don't miss our Friday Top 5 episode where we discuss our favorite new releases from that week. For more interviews and